That is it. That's the reason I even made this point. That's why the whole like $11 million meme is actually stupid. Because not only did you buy someone who basically would only be sold at that kind of price because they're like worth their weight in gold, so you have to overpay. If you know anything about sports, you always overpay for the best player. Because why the fuck would I let the best player go unless you pay me like a king's ransom? That's why in football they keep breaking the records for the best striker all the time. Because the whole point is he is so absurdly good. It's not a normal market, is there? There's like two people in the market and you make them pay the absolute maximum amount or you keep him. That's how you get your value. There's never going to be, like, you can't really take the money you got from that guy and then buy the next best player. Like, it doesn't work. He's not going to be as good. And then the other thing as well for me is it's the implied value of buying perks. Like, not only is there the meme of like, he can poach everyone. By the way, that's real. He's like the best GM to ever play fucking League of Legends. But secondly, the other factor is like, people just want to be on your team now. People just want to be on that guy's team. That is a mad attractive factor. Like, what you'll get out of that is way more than you'll ever see in the server. And by the way, even when they do those like documentaries, they're never going to really capture like the things that make that guy so like iconic, or people just like, that's why my term for it is he's just like a talisman, dude. Like everywhere he goes, he can't help but fucking succeed. I don't think people have really looked at the numbers. Like, pick out his bad games and all I'll do is hit you with stats like never failed to qualify for Worlds, make it like, again, like 4 years straight in the playoffs. Like, mate, the numbers are ridiculous. All those game 4 stats. Like, this guy, it's beyond a joke. And then we just added in. Remember, everyone's telling us, by the way, accurately, probably the worst split of his career, right? The worst split of his career involves still making it to Worlds and then getting out of the most impossible group ever assembled. Probably the best, like, underdog group escape in the history of the tournament. Like, if that's the guy's fucking bad split, well, God forbid he ever gets good again, TSM fans. What the fuck are you going to do? You didn't even make it to Worlds. How are you still talking shit now? How are you still talking? I get it. Listen, everyone can talk shit, but like, you do look a bit silly at this point if you're still hating on perks. Like, come on, man. What more does he have to do? What more does he have to do? Chance. Yeah, go on, Rich. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say the funniest thing about the perks is bad thing. And like, to be honest, like during the split or whatever, or when people were giving their opinions on was he worth X, is he worth Y, like was it a bad decision? Like I didn't pay too much credence for it, and I didn't even necessarily think that the questions were like unjustified. Like I would disagree, but I thought certain performances warranted asking questions. Sure, absolutely. The weirdest thing about it was the timing of like that super popular upvoted thread that got like
the accountability one or whatever.
Yeah, it was just such bizarre timing because Cloud9 had made playoffs. They were still in playoffs, and there was still like a very real possibility that they were going to make Worlds. Like, it was just so weird. And it was like, so up until this point, let me get this straight. In the first split, he just wins, right? And in the second split, he's probably going to secure qualification for Worlds, and then we don't know what will happen. Obviously, they won't go into Worlds as a favourite or something. They might end up in the group of death, which they did, which he then gets out of. It's like, why do people do this to themselves? Like, the timing of it was so stupid. This guy was asking for like a divine intervention to like make him look like a fool. It was just so bizarre, and I just couldn't get enough of it when all the people just immediately started bandwagoning on this opinion, like this was some geniusly like well put together succinct opinion on the reality of perks in his career. And it's like, there's about a 2% chance you ever get vindicated for this. Like, it was just bizarre. And then like a week later, he put in like some insane 1v9 playoff performance that put them in position to qualify for the next series. Like, I don't know. That will go down. That guy is sat there in some basement in deep regret.
Of course. He's probably the one just now like, yeah, but they're still only going to make quarters. Remember, you can never beat the hater. Like, the hater just fucking just uses like a eraser on his whiteboard, just writes a new thing and like, now there's a new reason I hate you.
That's almost as good as your prediction. That,
which one?
Astralis would win the major.
I am proud of that one.
But here's the thing, you're not psychic because you didn't predict that Moses would take away that pie bet and renege upon it like a bloody...
Listen,
No.
Like fucking Littlefinger, little turncoat.
No reneging. I gave him 3 events, and I'm not going to attend every event throughout the year just wondering, is this the event I get hit in the face with the pie? I'm just, I'm not having it.
Is that not reasonable, is it?
Yeah.
To just go the rest of your life never knowing when a pie will be launched from the darkness into your face.
Because that's the next step. That's the next evolution of this, is Anders just waiting around the corner and just hitting me in the face and I'm not even fucking ready for it. So not letting that happen.
I just thought Moses was a man and that he would, that he wouldn't back out of that. I
Definitely
just assumed that was how it worked. And then
he's half a man. Moses to be played by Tyrion in the movie adaptation,
But
or whatever that guy.
I'm never gonna stay in CS because of what I'm getting paid. I'm gonna stay because I still have love for the game, and I still feel like it's something that brings me excitement. Like people would, laugh if they could see the green room in some of these games when we're watching and we're jumping around, they're screaming like little kids. Like even after
those green rooms,
years, and even after even after all that stuff, because it's just how it is. We all love CS first, and then everything else comes second.
Except Semler, of course. He literally will just go anywhere for the money. So. There we go. The whole time he was saying that, I was thinking, this is a bit awkward. I was like, Semler's like, yeah, me too. Yeah, love that shit. When I was a boy, I actually dreamed of being an Overwatch caster. That was my first love. And
Bonding doesn't mean it's not hard for me.
No, of course not. No, but you might not remember the genesis of this story. But one of the reasons why, as part of my persona, obviously for a long time in CSGO, one of my favorite players has been Device from Astralis/TSM, etc. And obviously, I built into my joke part of, because since everyone tries it, what people do in CS is if they know you like a player, they just try to use reverse psychology to get you not to say nice things by going, you just love that player, don't you? Why are you going to suck his dick? And so what they want to do, right, is make you think, since everyone knows I love him, I should not say that I like him much, I should just criticize him more. But I don't fall into that trap, right? So what I do is I just build it into my persona. So as a result, I make it obviously I give Device the MVP every tournament. Of course, guys, what are you talking about? So as a result, I made that joke where to cover my bias, because obviously he's had loads of games he's choked away. I made that joke that when he chokes, he's just Device then, but when he goes God mode, he's Deve, and he transforms into his alter ego. That actually comes from Yanko. He won't know why though, because every time we would be watching these games, and obviously this is in the era when Astralis and TSM did lose a lot of the matches, right? Every time Device would fuck up a massive shot, Yanko would just really sarcastically go, Deve! It's just and so that's why I had to take it back. I had to take it back for us and win it, reclaim it. Because that's just an example of the sort of things people do. Because the other thing is, when you're in a green room, you also know from being around these people so much exactly what triggers each person. So if you want, you can just fuck with people to an unlimited degree, obviously.
5 second reset team around Drake. Look at all of that kind of stuff, and you have to think there's something going wrong in terms of communication here, because this is not just greed. This is not that there was somebody in their lane on bot side that they were greeding for. It's not that they were greeding heavily for a tier 1 side lane tower. It's that they fundamentally misunderstand the map. But these plays may have worked last year when Drake's Soul wasn't just the be-all, end-all. These plays may have worked last year when Rift Herald wasn't going to be such a significant swing in tempo.
So is the meta itself something playing against them, essentially, or neutralizing a little bit?
Or that they haven't adapted to necessarily. They don't understand the value of neutrals, like it is now. They understand them kind of how it was last year.
Right.
And they're clearly not recognizing, map states that they probably would recognize if Perks had a much easier job right now and he wasn't just a side linking like he is now. These are consistent tendencies, and these are instances that can't be put down to greed. That's just misunderstanding. You can't, how do you put that kind of stuff down to greed? How do you put reset timings down to greed like that? Surely you'd be greedy for a Dragon's Soul.
By the way, VDS, I will just say, for the sake of you and the viewers, I have always said that it is entirely unfair that in the modern day, we still do podcasts with Veteran and LS where they don't have a screen with clips loaded up and a laser pointer, because it's hard to follow. The problem is, mate, they will just jump as though we all can just access the whole game from our brain, and you're just sat there what was he referring to again? Yeah, I can't remember that.
The games that he's talking about.
The reason why it becomes an enduring stuff is because a lot of people be like, if you'd done all of this stuff, you would have won the game, and then suddenly becomes your fault, The equivalent last year was the Larson Corky package, right? Where people are like, well, if you had the Corky package, then they would have won, right? Well, actually, it's really debatable if they would have even killed the Nexus on that, because Kennenolt's coming for them in the split second, and I actually think they still hold that off, even if Larson doesn't do the fucking Corky package, but no one will think of that. So people just look at, you threw the whole fucking thing, you know. And the Fnatic OMG series, again, came down to a shit. There are massive lists out there of everything they can do to get the one last hit.
Yes,
exactly. Truly gigantic lists.
But, and also, it goes without saying, all the Reddit discussion about that classic game, the OMG Fnatic one, made it seem like it was obvious I would have just hit the Nexus one. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, why is everyone like that? I've always said this. Listen, as a purveyor of the finest, connoisseur of the finest fan logic in the land, one of my secret, fetishes has always been opening those Reddit threads about a super sick outplay and then just reading the fucking gold guy just explaining to me how he'd have, cleansed this one ability, then, held his own. It's like, you wouldn't have done any of that. You're just, nobody would. It's just Faker versus someone like Godlike. No one would have done this shit. It's all in the moment, isn't it? We're all watching replays in slow-mo.
If you're winning the game, you're supposed to get all the dragons, right? So the team that's winning will also get the dragons. So this also changes the stat a bit, but I completely agree. The game is very, very dependent on this right now, and the bot lane meta is obviously heavily influenced because if you get dragons, can depend a lot on your bot lane. And there's sometimes maybe you can give up a Drake and try to get your top lane ahead through it, but
I'll get through it and maybe get next Drake, right? But
maybe a Herald for Dragon, first Dragon, it can be worth, right? But it's
it's not reliable though. I don't know. It's flipped.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, I mean, the only reason you would give your top, for example, the gold, or let the AD carry farm that he's stronger for the next Dragon fight. It's not like you can keep trading and win the game this way. So I definitely agree that this meta very dull as well. Yeah.
At least you get to play now, Upset. You'd be just fucking watching Nuke Duck in a side lane if it was a year ago, mate.
He's champion
Exactly. You at least get to play the game. There you go. You're not part of the three. You're not the 3 in the 1-3-1, mate.
It's 0-5-0 now.
Exactly. There you go.
So when I was thinking actually about past AD carry metas, I just feel like that game actually could be super great if Riot had 2 years just complete break of the game, including the servers, and they rework all the old AD carries. And every AD carry is OP, and they keep doing what they do on 2 topside champs and supports. They keep getting more broken anyways. And then it's great, but I can't imagine a meeting of Riot where they pitch Aphelios to the guy that designed Caitlyn. Imagine this meeting.
Yes.
So
true.
He walks in and he says so I think about making a long range AD carry, and he will have the same range as Caitlyn. Oh, okay. So he will definitely.
But he's also Jinx. He's also Varus. He's also Ashe. He's also Kai'Sa and Xayah.
And he also has a frozen mallet and a million items.
He's a better Jinx, his flamethrower. It's fucking ridiculous. And his Infernum, he has a fucking root on his auto attack. What the fuck, man? There's why do you give it?
Everything.
That's a ulti for other champ, you know? I mean, what's funny is we didn't even mention the shurikens yet because
you can't even count to them,
and the life stealers and the red weapon. I mean, they keep nerfing it, and he sounds so OP, but right now I actually think he's I have to keep playing the AD carry side of the argument, of course, so they don't nerf him too much.
Sure. Yeah,
but I think he has counterplay for sure.
I will say, by the way, fuck you, George Geddes, for that tweet where you... No, because of course, how can I not? When he said that thing about the goo on your face, I won't repeat word for word. Just go to George Geddes' Twitter if you want to see an outrageous... He's already pretty bad with Twitter anyway because he leans into that Zuma shit. But that was he's so professional. That's outrageous.
I replied to that tweet with a Photoshop version of the tweet where I just Photoshopped out every other word but that specific phrase. Yes. And it's just even when I was streaming, I mean, you just said that you weren't going to repeat the phrase, so I guess I shouldn't. But
you can if you want. I'm just going to read the whole thing out.
Even when I was streaming earlier, I referred to him as the cum dude because of George Geddes' fucking tweet.
Because the problem is, that's the other thing. He's also done that thing, hasn't he, where once you think that, and that's how you mentally characterize what it is. You can't unsee it, can you? Because it does just go all over their face. Come on, bro. Why have you done? You've ruined it for me now. You've actually ruined it now. I can't think of anything else, can I? It's like that video years ago where those women were enjoying that food out of a cup. I just can't ever see, you know, that number of people with that number of items, you know. I purposely did a good example there because if you know what I'm referencing, you also can't not think of that. But if you don't, you're like naive. You're like, what is he referring to with the cop thing? Don't Google. Don't even try and attempt to find it. It's better not to know. The point of this is, it's better not to know some things. I wish I could go get that machine from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and delete that tweet from my brain, George Geddes. So anyway,
I wish you could go back in time and block George Geddes.
That wouldn't be bad, actually. Wouldn't be a bad move. The Beatles said they get by with a little help from their friends, but I get by with a little help from my Patreon community. And this video was kindly supported by Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Ahmed Hadjou, Bot Pounder 420, Torin, Animosity, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Goh, Tosh, and a special thanks always goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to ask me a question in my monthly video AMA? Do you want teasers to find out who are the upcoming guests? Maybe you want to take part in one of those lengthy but intense esports discussions I have with my donators, or maybe you want to suggest a guest or a topic that I could cover. Well, if any of those tickle your fancy, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where in the description box below there is a Patreon link.